You'd think sharing a language means you're basically the same, right? Well, maybe not. Today, we're going to dig into what really makes a country tick. And trust me, it goes way deeper than just the words we all use. Let's jump right in.
So let me ask you, what actually defines a country? Seriously, think about it. Is it just the borders on a map? Or the flag? The language? Well, as you're about to find out, the real answer, it's a whole lot cooler and way more complicated than you'd expect. Yeah, because it's never, ever just one thing. A nation's identity, it's more like a giant, messy, beautiful quilt. It's pieced together from all its people, its one-of-a-kind traditions, and, the thousands of stories that have shaped it over time. It's a living, breathing thing.
So, where do we even begin with all that? Well, how about with the faces of a nation? The people who become the actual symbols. We're talking everyone from kings and queens and rebels from way back when to the movie stars and musicians who are shaping the culture right now.
Okay, let's kick things off with England. Think about this. On one side, you've got the historical powerhouse, Queen Elizabeth I. She ruled for 45 years and basically turned England into a global force. Then, flash forward to today, and you have the imaginative power of J.K. Rowling, who built a magical world that captivated millions. See? Both of them tell England's story, just from completely different angles.
Now, let's hop over to Australia, where the story is just as wild. Back in the day, their big name was Ned Kelly, this infamous outlaw in homemade armor who became this hugely divisive folk hero. Fast forward to today, and Australia's hero is a literal superhero on the big screen, Chris Hemsworth playing Thor. What a shift, right? From a real-life rebel to a mythical god.
And then there's Ireland. Its identity is so deeply rooted in history, with figures like St. Patrick. You know the story, right? He used a tiny shamrock to explain this massive concept. Well, that same incredible storytelling gene is totally alive and well today in superstars like Cillian Murphy, who's winning Oscars for his powerhouse acting. From saints to screen stars, that cultural punch is just undeniable.
The U.S. has a similar kind of thread running through its story. You've got the absolutely monumental legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who fought peacefully for equality and for a voice. And now, today, you see a totally different kind of influence with someone like Taylor Swift, a songwriter whose music connects with millions and literally shapes global conversations. It's all about that same powerful drive to be heard. Okay, so we've met some of the people, but what about the look, what they wear? Let's dive into how clothes can be way more than just fabric, how they can become these powerful visual symbols of a country's entire identity and history.
And we have to start with the Scottish kilt, so iconic. But a kilt is so much more than just a piece of clothing. That plaid pattern, it's called tartan, is basically a family's history in fabric. Each unique pattern points to a specific clan. And it's a whole outfit too, worn with a sporran, that's the pouch, and even a little knife called a scian dubh. And get this, they take these tartan patterns so seriously that it's actually illegal to wear a specific clan's tartan if you're not part of that family. No kidding. But hey, don't worry. If you want to join in, there's a universal tartan that absolutely anyone can wear. So you can still get in on the celebration.
All right, next stop, Canada, and that famous Mountie uniform. You know the one, that bright red jacket, the wide Stetson hat. You could spot it a mile away. It's become this global symbol for Canada, standing for law, order, and, well, Canada itself. But here's something that might surprise you. You're probably not going to see a Mountie wearing this while out on a regular patrol. That iconic red uniform, it's mostly just for ceremonies and big events these days. So there's a bit of a split between the symbol we all know and the reality of their daily job. So you can see how each outfit tells a totally different story, right? For Scotland, the kilt is all about your clan. For the US, cowboy gear is about freedom and the wild frontier. In Canada, the Mountie uniform means law and honor. And for New Zealand, traditional Maori dress is this incredibly deep connection to your tribe and your ancestors. All right, we've done people, we've done clothes. Now it's time for my favorite part, the weirdly brilliant national quirks. These are those strange little tidbits that, honestly, sometimes tell you more about a country than a history book. Let's do a quick fire round. Okay, check this out. In New Zealand, sheep outnumber people 5-1. 5! And in Australia, there are more kangaroos than humans. Even in the US, in the state of Montana, there are more cows than people. It just kind of gives you a whole different picture of these places, doesn't it? And here's a wild connection you probably never thought of.
two island nations literally on opposite sides of the planet, Ireland and New Zealand. What do they have in common? They are both totally, completely snake-free. And in Ireland, they're so serious about it you can't even find them in zoos. How weird is that?
Even national symbols can be super quirky. Scotland's national animal? It's a unicorn. A unicorn. They picked it centuries ago because the unicorn was supposedly the only thing that could defeat a lion. And guess what England's national animal is? Yep, a lion. A little bit of ancient rivalry there. And then you have Ireland, the only country on Earth with a musical instrument, the harp, as its national symbol. So cool. And speaking of things that are just part of the national DNA, you want to know how much the British love their tea? They drink 100 million cups. 100 million every single day. That's not just a habit, that's practically a national ritual. Okay, so we've looked at famous people, historic clothes, and some seriously strange facts. Let's try to pull this all together. What's the secret sauce? What's the one ingredient that defines a nation? Well, turns out there isn't just one. It really is like a recipe with a ton of ingredients. You've got the people, your heroes, your rebels. You've got the traditions that keep history alive. You need the history itself, all the wins and the losses. And yeah, you absolutely need those weird, wonderful quirks that give a place its own unique flavor. So as we finish up here, I'm going to leave you with this question. After seeing all these little pieces of the puzzle, which country's story was the one that really made you go, huh, I never knew that? Thanks so much for hanging out with me today.